If you feel stuck or overwhelmed, this message is for you. Changing your life isn't about luck or waiting for the perfect moment. It's about making clear decisions and living intentionally. Stick around and find out how to start that change, starting today. Number 1. Change begins with a decision, not a wish. You know, I've met thousands of people in my life. I've spoken in crowded rooms, one-on-one sessions, business halls, and little cafes. And there's one thing that always comes up. People say, I want a better life. I want to be healthier. I want more income. I want to be respected. I want peace. I want happiness. That's fine. It's good to want those things. But here's the truth. A wish is not enough. Wishing doesn't change anything. What changes your life is a decision, a real one, not one you say out loud and forget the next day. A decision you make and you feel it in your chest. A decision that doesn't go away the next morning. A decision that sticks. I remember years ago when I was broke, flat broke. I had pennies in my pocket and nothing in the bank. I couldn't pay my bills. I was 25 years old and embarrassed. I had excuses. I had reasons, but none of it mattered. What mattered was that I hadn't decided to take control of my life. See, nothing changed until that day I said to myself, this is it. No more. I didn't shout it. I didn't need a stage. I said it in a quiet moment, and that was the day everything changed, because the decision was real. A wish is soft. A decision is sharp. A wish says I hope. A decision says I will. So if you really want to change your life, it starts there. Not with the calendar, not with your friends, not with your environment. It starts with your choice, the kind of choice you don't forget. It doesn't have to be dramatic, but it has to be honest. You've got to look at your current results, your income, your health, your energy, your habits, and say this is no longer acceptable to me. That's where power begins. People often say, but I don't know what to do. Well, that's not the problem. The problem is that they haven't made a decision strong enough to push them to go figure it out. You don't need all the answers to start. You just need to be done waiting. A real decision will wake you up early. It'll make you move quicker. It'll pull you out of excuses and into action. It'll keep you going when your energy is low, because the direction has been set. Think about it. When was the last time you really decided something and stuck to it? Not just tried it for a week, but stuck to it like your life depended on it? That's how people lose weight and keep it off. That's how people get out of debt and stay free. That's how people stop complaining and start building. That's how people turn their whole life around. They make a decision and then they don't back down. Now here's something important. The decision doesn't mean you'll never mess up. It doesn't mean every day will be perfect. It just means that even when you mess up, you don't quit. You reset and keep going. That's what a real decision gives you: direction, stability, a reason. Some people change their minds every other week. One day they want to start a business. The next week they want to go back to school. One day they want to change their body. The next week they give up on the gym. That's not a decision, that's confusion. If you want your life to change, you've got to stop living in confusion and start living with clarity. Decide what matters to you. Decide what kind of life you want. Decide what kind of person you want to be, and then hold yourself to that. That's how the change starts. Now you might say, but what if I've failed in the past? That's okay. I failed too, many times, but the past isn't the problem. The problem is living the same story over and over and pretending it's going to end differently. You've got to stop dragging your past into your future. You've got to stop waiting for some big moment to come along. You've got to stop saying someday. You don't need someday. You need today. Today is when decisions are made, not tomorrow, not next week. Today, right now. I've seen people who were addicted for years, who woke up one day and said no more. I've seen people who were buried in debt, who finally decided to take charge of their money. I've seen people who never graduated school, who decided to become self-educated and went on to build incredible lives. How? They decided. So here's the question for you. What will you decide today? Not what do you hope for, not what sounds good. What will you really choose? Because if you're tired of the same results, if you're tired of waiting, then it's time to decide. It might not be easy, it might take time, but when the decision is real, your life begins to move in a new direction. So stand up for your future. Say it to yourself. This is the day I begin again. You don't need to wait for a new year. You don't need to wait for permission. You don't need to have everything figured out. You just need to make one clear decision that you will no longer settle for less than your best, and when you do, that's when life begins to change. Number 2, don't change everything. Change one thing first. You know, I used to think that in order to improve my life, I had to change everything at once. I thought, maybe I need to change where I live, change how I work, change who I talk to, change my schedule, change my income, change my body, all of it, all at once. But I learned something very important. You don't need to change everything right now. You only need to start by changing one thing, just one. Most people feel overwhelmed, not because they're lazy, but because they're trying to fix too much at the same time. They set 30 goals, join 5 programs, try to wake up at 5 a.m., run a marathon, read 10 books, quit 5 habits, start 3 businesses, and it's just too much. The human mind doesn't respond well to chaos, and the body doesn't either. We're built for structure, for rhythm, for direction, not confusion. So what happens when you try to do too much? You lose focus. You burn out. You start strong, then quit by the second week. You feel like a failure, not because you're weak, but because you never set yourself up for success in the first place. That's why I say, don't try to change everything. Start with one thing. Now some people hear that and think it sounds too slow, too small, but I'm telling you, that's where real lasting change begins. Look around at anyone who has truly improved their life. It didn't happen all at once. It started with a choice, a decision to shift one habit, one routine, one area of life, and once they got that area under control, they used that strength to tackle the next thing. That's how I did it. That's how I went from broke and confused to financially independent and focused. I didn't start by changing my whole life. I started by changing how I used my evenings. I stopped wasting time and I started reading. That one shift opened the door to everything else. So ask yourself this, what's one area of your life that you can take control of right now? Not everything, just one. It might be your mornings. It might be your attitude. It might be how you spend your money. It might be your time on your phone. It might be your eating habits. It might be how often you talk down to yourself. Pick just one. Don't overthink it. Pick one that you know deep down is holding you back. And here's what you do next. Give that one area your full attention for the next 30 days. Not forever, just 30 days. Build some structure around it. Keep it simple. If it's your morning, wake up a bit earlier and use that time to prepare your mind for the day. If it's your health, cut one bad habit, maybe soda or late-night snacks. If it's your finances, stop spending money on things you don't need and track where every dollar goes. You'd be amazed at how much your confidence grows when you stay consistent in one area, because success in one area creates energy for the next. People think change has to be dramatic to be powerful. But the truth is, change just needs to be consistent. That's the secret. One change done daily can lead to massive results over time. See, most people try to change everything fast because they want to escape the pain. But that's not how you build strength. You build strength by staying committed, not by rushing. Now let's talk about why this works. When you focus on just one change, 3 powerful things happen. 1. You train your focus. You stop being distracted by a dozen things. You stop chasing every idea. You give your energy to something that matters, and that builds momentum. 2. You start seeing results. It might be small at first, but it's real. Your mind starts to believe again. You gain confidence. You start thinking, hey, I'm actually doing this. That belief is powerful. 3. You feel in control again. So many people feel powerless because their life feels out of control. But when you stick to one new habit, you prove to yourself that you're in charge, that you can follow through, that you can shape your future. And once you feel that, once you realize you've got more power than you thought, your mindset changes. That's when you become dangerous. That's when you become focused. That's when you start taking responsibility. That's when you start saying, if I can change this one thing, I can change more. And that's exactly what happens. The one change becomes 2, then 3, and before you know it, your entire life looks different. Not because of a miracle, not because of luck, but because you stayed consistent when others gave up. So don't fall into the trap of trying to become a new person overnight. That's not realistic, and it's not necessary. Be smarter than that. Be more grounded than that. Be more patient with yourself. Choose one thing, just one. and commit to it like your life depends on it, because in many ways it does. If you can win one battle, you'll gain the strength to win more. If you can show up for one habit, you'll believe you can show up for others. That's the path to real change. So I'll ask you again, what's the one thing? Not 5, not 10, just one. Decide it, own it, focus on it, and start today. Because if you can win today, just today, you'll wake up tomorrow with more confidence, more clarity, and more control than you had the day before. And that's how your life changes, not all at once, but one decision, one action, and one result at a time. Number 3, your life won't change until you raise your standards. You know, one of the most important turning points in my life wasn't when I made more money. It wasn't when I met a mentor. It wasn't when I bought a better suit or moved to a nicer place. The real turning point was when I raised my standards. I stopped accepting things that were beneath me, not because I thought I was better than anyone, but because I finally understood what I was really capable of. You see, your life will always reflect the standards you tolerate. If your standard is to just get by, then you'll scrape by. If your standard is to live paycheck to paycheck, then you'll never break that cycle. If your standard is to stay comfortable, you'll never feel proud of your discipline or your growth. And I'll be honest with you, your life won't get better until your standard gets higher. This is not about being perfect. It's not about being superior to anyone else. It's about expecting more from yourself because you know deep down that you've been settling. I've met people who say they want more in life. They want success, fulfillment, better relationships, stronger health. But the question isn't what you want. The real question is, what will you no longer tolerate? Because that's where change begins. Change doesn't begin when you hope for more. It begins when you say, I'm done with less. That's a different kind of fire. Think about the areas of your life that are frustrating you right now. Your income, your energy, your habits, your daily routine. You know what they all have in common. They're a reflection of your current standards. Now, standards are not goals. That's important to understand. Goals are what you want. Standards are what you live by. A goal says, I want to be in shape. A standard says, I don't skip workouts, no matter how I feel. A goal says, I want to earn more money. A standard says, I don't spend more than I make. I invest in my mind. I work on my value. See the difference? Goals can come and go. Standards are what you live with every day. And your life, your results will rise or fall depending on the standards you commit to. Now, for some people, their standards are shaped by comfort. They do what feels good. They avoid discomfort. They avoid responsibility. They avoid effort. That kind of standard keeps a person stuck. They stay in a cycle where nothing ever improves. But you raise your standard the day you say, this is no longer acceptable to me. You stop making excuses. You stop blaming the world. You stop delaying change. And here's the powerful thing. The moment you raise your standard, your behavior starts to change automatically. When someone raises their standard on health, they stop eating things that don't serve them. They don't need someone watching over them. Their new standard leads their choices. When someone raises their standard in business, they show up earlier, they stay prepared, they keep their word. They don't need constant reminders. Their identity is changing. That's the power of a higher standard. It becomes the floor beneath you, not the ceiling above you. But raising your standard takes honesty. You've got to admit where you've been slacking. You've got to confront the areas where you've let things slide. You've got to take a hard look and say, I've been playing below my potential, and it's not always comfortable, but it's necessary, because nothing gets better without a demand. Your life responds to the pressure you place on it. If you don't require more from yourself, you won't get more from your life. Now maybe you're thinking, but I've tried raising my standards before, I always fall back. That's okay. That just means you've been trying without full commitment, because when the standard is real, when it's locked in, you don't negotiate with it. You don't say, well, just this once. You say, this is who I am now. There's a difference between trying to change and deciding to change. Trying has room for excuses. Deciding means your new standard is non-negotiable. If you've ever seen someone who lost 100 pounds, or built a business from scratch, or turned their life around after years of struggle, that didn't happen because of luck. It happened because their standard changed. They refused to go back to the old way of living. They drew a line in the sand and said, "This is my new way forward." And you can do the same thing. It doesn't take talent. It doesn't take connections. It takes a serious commitment to something higher. So here's what I suggest you do. Take 20 minutes. Sit quietly. Ask yourself, what standards am I living with right now? Not the ones you talk about, the ones you act on, the ones that show up in your habits, the ones that shape your day. Then ask, what standard would force me to grow? Not what's comfortable. What would challenge me to become better? Maybe you raise your standard for how you treat your body. Maybe you raise it for how you manage your money. Maybe you raise it for how you use your time. Maybe it's how you treat people or how you speak to yourself. You don't have to change everything at once, but you do have to change what you accept. Once you raise the standard, the behavior follows, and once the behavior changes, the results show up. Maybe not overnight, but they come. They always do. And one more thing, when you raise your standard, you also start attracting people who live by higher standards too. That's a bonus you don't expect. Your friends improve, your conversations improve, your circle becomes stronger, because when you live with high standards, others notice, and they either step up or step out. Either way, your life improves. So here's the challenge. Stop asking how to change your life. Start asking what you need to stop tolerating. Your environment will shift when you stop allowing certain things. Your body will change when you stop feeding it junk. Your income will grow when you stop wasting your potential. Don't wait for someone to raise the bar for you. Raise it for yourself, because the truth is, your life won't rise above your standards. And the good news is, it doesn't have to stay where it is. Change your standards, and everything changes with it. Number 4, break the habit of blaming. There was a time in my life when I had every excuse in the world. I blamed the government. I blamed taxes. I blamed the company I worked for. I blamed the people around me. I blamed my situation. I blamed my past. And the worst part, I didn't even realize I was doing it. I thought I was just explaining why things weren't going right. But what I was really doing was giving away my power. And I want you to hear this clearly. As long as you blame, you will stay stuck. You can't move forward when your energy is going backward. You can't build a better future while holding someone else responsible for your life. There is no growth in blame. There is only delay. One day someone looked me in the eye and said, "Jim, if you don't like where you are, you're the one who has to change it." That was tough to hear, but it was the truth. And the truth, as hard as it is sometimes, is what sets you free. You see, the habit of blaming feels good for a moment. It makes you feel less responsible. It makes you feel like it's not your fault. But over time it becomes a prison. It keeps you small. It keeps you angry. It keeps you repeating the same patterns year after year. People blame their boss, so they never become better workers. People blame their parents, so they never take charge of their own life. People blame the economy, so they never learn to create value. People blame time, so they never organize their day. People blame their past, so they never build a future. Blame becomes the reason they stay where they are, but what they don't realize is, the longer they hold on to blame, the more they lose their ability to grow. Now don't get me wrong, bad things happen, people get hurt, people go through loss, trauma, unfair treatment. That's real, and it matters. But here's what you've got to understand. Just because something wasn't your fault, doesn't mean your healing isn't your responsibility. Just because someone hurt you, doesn't mean you have to stay wounded. Just because the system was unfair, doesn't mean you can't rise above it. Just because you were left behind, doesn't mean you can't catch up, and even surpass. See, life isn't fair. That's not new. But blaming unfairness doesn't fix it. Responsibility does. And the moment you stop blaming is the moment you start healing, the moment you start creating, the moment you start leading, because blame doesn't build, it only breaks. I remember when I was earning little to nothing, I had pennies in my pocket and excuses in my mouth. I'd say, well, if they paid more, I'd try harder. If I had better luck, I'd be further along. If I had been born into wealth, this would be easier. But none of that helped me. What helped me was this thought: what if I stopped blaming and just got to work on myself? That one idea changed my life. Because once you stop blaming, you start focusing on the one thing you can control, you. You can't control your past. You can't control what others did. You can't control the weather, the government, or the economy. But you can control your habits. You can control your attitude. You can control what you read, who you learn from, how you spend your time. You can control your discipline, your effort, and your decisions. And that's more than enough to change your life. Blame takes the power out of your hands. Responsibility puts it back. You've probably seen it. Some people go through terrible things and still rise, while others have every advantage and still complain. What's the difference? It's not intelligence, it's not luck, it's not connections, it's mindset. One person says, because of what I've been through, I refuse to stay down. The other says, because of what I've been through, I can't move forward. Same pain, different mindset. Now here's what I want you to understand. You are not weak for being hurt, but you become stronger the moment you stop handing that pain more power than it deserves. Blame is a habit, and like any habit it can be broken, but it has to start with honesty. You've got to admit where you've been blaming others. You've got to stop telling the same story. You've got to catch yourself when you say things like, they didn't support me, they held me back, well, they never gave me a chance, they don't understand, and instead you shift your question from, why did this happen to me, to what can I do about it now? That's where the power is. That's where you move forward. That's where you begin again. And the truth is, nobody is coming to rescue you. Not the government, not your boss, not your family, not your friends. You've got to rescue yourself. And you do that by dropping blame and picking up responsibility. It's not always easy, but it's always worth it. So I challenge you to take a hard look at your life, the areas where you feel stuck, behind, or frustrated. Ask yourself, who am I blaming for this? And once you answer that, replace the blame with a plan. Replace the excuse with action. Replace the story with ownership. Say to yourself, I may not have caused it, but I will fix it. I may not be where I want to be, but I won't stay here. I may have been wronged, but I won't keep repeating the same outcome. That kind of thinking transforms you, and soon enough you stop waiting, you stop complaining, you stop pointing fingers, you start moving forward, you start getting stronger, you start living life on your terms, not life on someone else's mistake. Break the habit of blaming, and you open the door to growth, healing, and freedom. That's when your life begins to change. Number 5. Use your pain as a reason, not an excuse. All right, I want to speak to the part of you that's been hurt, the part that's tired, the part that feels like no one gets it. Maybe life hasn't been fair. Maybe you've gone through more than you ever expected. Maybe people let you down. But here's what I know, and I say this with all the clarity I've gained over the years. Pain will either drive you forward or chain you down. Pain is real. I'm not ignoring that. I've had my share. I've been broke. I've been embarrassed. I've been discouraged. I've been disappointed. I've sat at rock bottom. But there comes a point when you have to choose what role your pain will play in your life. It can be the fuel that moves you forward, or the excuse that keeps you still. You're not the only one who's suffered. That's not to diminish your experience. It's to remind you that others have risen. Others have used the very pain that tried to break them as the reason they stood back up. And you can too. Now I want you to think for a moment. Look back at one of your lowest points. Maybe you lost someone. Maybe you were betrayed. Maybe you failed. Feel it. Don't run from it. Feel it. Now ask yourself this. What did it teach you? Because pain always brings a lesson. Maybe it taught you who's real. Maybe it taught you what to value. Maybe it woke you up. That's your edge. That's your reason. Don't waste it. You see, most people spend years talking about their pain, telling the story over and over, reliving it, letting it define them, but nothing changes unless you do something with that pain. Talk less about what happened and more about what you're doing now. People respect action, not complaints. You can either say, this happened to me and that's why I quit, or you can say, that happened to me and that's why I'm stronger. Every great story you admire, every person you look up to, they've all faced setbacks, they've all had reasons to quit, but they use those reasons to rise. So ask yourself, what's your pain going to push you to do? Some people use pain as a wall. They stop trusting, stop dreaming, stop growing. But pain can also be a window. It can help you see more clearly. It can show you what matters. It can push you into action. If you're tired of being tired, don't just talk about it. Get up and make something better. Not all at once, just one thing. Start small. That's how strength is built. Now I know it's easy to say, I would be successful if this didn't happen, or I'd be further along if they hadn't hurt me. But the truth is, success is built in spite of those things, not in the absence of them. The world doesn't give points for pain, but it will respect what you do with it. And listen, there is someone right now watching you, looking up to you. You may not know it, you may not see it, but someone is paying attention. They're watching how you handle pressure. They're learning how to stand because they see you refuse to fall. That's leadership, that's impact, that's purpose. So don't waste your pain. Don't let it pass without making something better because of it. Use it to change how you live. Use it to build a new standard. Use it to set an example. When things go wrong, when life gets hard, when it all falls apart, stand up, breathe, decide, this won't break me, this will build me. I've always believed that your life doesn't change when it gets easier. Your life changes when you get stronger, and the path to strength often walks right through discomfort. If life hurt you, good. That means you're alive. That means you care. But don't stop there. Grow from it. Heal. Speak. Act. Do something meaningful with the experience. Take your pain, your loss, your regrets, and decide that they will serve you now, not own you. This is where real personal growth starts. Right here, when you stop asking, why me, and start saying, what now? And I'll tell you something else. When you begin to use your pain as fuel, the world takes notice. People listen more closely. They take your words seriously, because you're not speaking from theory, you're speaking from truth, from life. That's what gives your voice weight. That's what gives your story value. So what do you do today? You decide. You decide not to hide behind what happened. You decide to show up with a new level of discipline, a new mindset, a new reason. You don't need perfect conditions. You don't need a new year or a lucky break. You just need to say, I'm not going to stay stuck here. If you've been through a lot, that means you're strong enough to do something with it. Use the pain as a reason to improve your health. Use it as a reason to take your finances seriously. Use it as a reason to become a better parent, a better spouse, a better person. Say, because of what I've gone through, I'm no longer wasting time. I'm no longer sitting in comfort. I'm building something real. Now that's how you win. That's how you change your life. And if you ever wonder whether it's worth it, whether anyone's noticing, just remember this: you're showing others what's possible. That's more powerful than you think. So I'll finish by saying this: you can't go back and change what happened, but you can decide what happens next. You can turn the pain into purpose. You can turn the loss into strength. And you can use all of it, not some of it, all of it, to build a life you're proud of. That's your choice now, not tomorrow, not someday. Right now, use your pain as a reason, not an excuse, and go change your life. Number 6. If you want to change your life, change your circle. There's something I learned early on, and it hit me hard, because once I realized it, I couldn't ignore it anymore. If you want to change your life, you have to change your circle. Not someday, not maybe, you have to. And I'll explain why. See, your environment is shaping you every day, and that environment includes the people you talk to, listen to, and spend time with. They are either pushing you forward or pulling you backward. There's no neutral. Now, I'm not talking about judging people or thinking you're better than anyone. That's not the goal. I'm talking about being honest enough with yourself to see when the people around you aren't helping you grow. If you're constantly around people who complain, what do you think will happen? You'll start complaining. If you spend your time around people who avoid responsibility, who always blame others, what happens? You start doing the same. And if you're surrounded by people who don't value goals, discipline, hard work, or improvement, it's just a matter of time before your standards drop too. Because here's the truth: you absorb more than you notice. You absorb people's thinking patterns. You absorb their beliefs. You absorb their attitudes about life. And over time, your identity starts to reflect the group you belong to. So the question is, who do you spend time with? Do the people in your life challenge you or let you slide? Do they encourage discipline or excuses? Are they honest with you, or do they just agree with everything you say? That's the real test. Now, I understand this part of growth can feel uncomfortable because it might mean distancing yourself from people you've known for years. It might mean choosing quiet over the wrong kind of company, but growth doesn't happen inside comfort zones. It just doesn't. One of the best decisions I ever made in my life was this. I became intentional about who I allowed close to me. I started spending time with people who were more disciplined than me, people who read more than me, people who had goals, people who didn't blame others, people who made me think harder, act better, and expect more from myself. And you know what happened? I grew faster, I got sharper, my habits improved, my results improved, my self-worth grew, because they weren't just talking about a better life, they were living it, and their example pulled me forward. You can't keep running with people who live without direction and expect your life to feel meaningful. You can't keep spending hours with people who tear others down and expect to feel inspired. You can't keep asking for support from people who don't even support themselves. You must choose wisely, because who you spend time with is a preview of your future. That's why I say, change your circle, start small. Maybe you don't have 100 high-achieving friends. That's fine. You only need 1 or 2 to begin shifting your perspective. And if you don't have anyone like that right now, here's what you do. Surround yourself with ideas, books, speeches, podcasts, courses. You can sit in the company of people who think bigger just by learning from them. Even if they're not sitting in the room with you, their words can still shape your life. Their discipline can still influence yours. You're not stuck. You're just surrounded by people who make you feel like you are. You don't lack potential. You're just not around people who believe in yours. Don't settle for a circle that claps for your comfort. Build one that challenges your growth. If your circle doesn't talk about goals, change it. If they don't read, think, grow, or reflect, change it. If they don't respect time, effort, or truth, change it. And if they don't remind you of who you can become, then they're keeping you tied to who you were. Your time is too valuable to waste on conversations that go nowhere. Your future is too important to spend it with people who have no plan for theirs. And your growth deserves support, not sabotage. So take inventory. Look at who you're around. Look at how you feel after spending time with them. Are you drained or are you driven? Are you clearer or more confused? Are you growing or shrinking? If the answer isn't growth, it's time for change. This might be the hardest step for some of you, because change requires honesty, and honesty sometimes hurts. But what hurts more is staying the same. You owe it to your future self to create a life that brings out the best in you, and that life starts with the people around you. Choose better, choose growth, choose progress, change your circle, and you'll change your life. Number 7. Don't wait for motivation. Create discipline. People often ask me, how do I get motivated? They say, I just don't feel like doing it. I'm waiting for the spark, the fire, the right moment, and my answer is always the same. Stop waiting. Build discipline. Motivation is fleeting. It's unpredictable. You feel it one day, it's gone the next. It's like the wind. You don't control when it shows up, and you certainly can't rely on it. But discipline, that's built. That's chosen. And once you've built it, you don't need to depend on how you feel. That's the key difference between people who succeed long-term and those who just talk about success. The successful ones work with or without motivation. They don't wake up every day excited. They don't always want to read the book, do the workout, make the call, or fix the problem, but they do it anyway. Why? Because they've trained themselves to follow through regardless of feeling. That's discipline. Discipline is doing what needs to be done, even when the mood is gone, even when it's boring, even when it's uncomfortable, especially then, because that's when it matters the most. Anyone can work hard when it's easy. Anyone can feel productive when they're excited, but discipline kicks in when motivation runs out, and that's where the real progress happens. Waiting for motivation is a trap, a lie. It's procrastination with a clever disguise. You're not stuck. You're just choosing to wait for something that doesn't last. If you only act when you feel like it, you'll never build consistency. And without consistency, nothing changes, nothing improves, nothing grows. So how do you create discipline? Start by becoming honest with yourself. What are the things you've been avoiding because you don't feel motivated? Where are you letting feelings control your future? What would change if you stopped waiting? The truth is, you don't need to feel ready. You need to decide. Make a commitment to act daily, not big acts, small, consistent ones. A few pages read, A few reps at the gym, a few minutes of deep work, done every day, even when it's inconvenient, that builds something bigger than motivation ever could. It builds self-trust. Discipline isn't a talent, it's not a gift, it's a decision, then a habit, then a lifestyle, and it starts with one choice. Do it anyway. Don't feel like it. Do it anyway. Tired. Do it anyway. Distracted. Do it anyway. Bored. Do it anyway. Because the more you train yourself to act without needing a feeling, the more powerful you become. You stop being reactive. You stop being ruled by moods. And you start becoming the kind of person others admire, the kind that shows up every day with purpose. You want results. Build discipline. You want confidence. Build discipline. You want self-respect. Build discipline. Motivation might start the journey, but only discipline finishes it. You see, you don't get disciplined by reading about it. You get disciplined by practicing it. Every time you show up for yourself, when it would be easier to quit, you're becoming stronger, not just physically, mentally, internally, the kind of strength that builds character. People think discipline is punishment. It's not. It's freedom, because when you're disciplined, you don't have to rely on motivation or luck or chance. You don't have to start over again and again because you gave up the last time things got hard. You don't have to keep apologizing to yourself for breaking promises. You just show up, you execute, and you grow. That's power. So the next time you catch yourself saying, "I'm just not motivated," pause. Ask yourself, do I want to stay stuck waiting, or do I want to get moving and build something that lasts? Your feelings are real, but they don't have to rule you. Your emotions are valid, but they don't decide your destiny. Your habits do. And the best habit you can build is action, no matter what mood you're in. The day you stop waiting for motivation and start living with discipline, everything changes. Your mornings become sharper. Your time becomes intentional. Your goals become reachable, not because they got easier, but because you got stronger. Discipline doesn't care how you feel, and that's a good thing. Because most days feelings are all over the place, but you don't have to be. You can be stable, you can be solid, you can be grounded, and all of that starts with showing up, even when you're not in the mood, especially when you're not in the mood, because that's how winners are made, one disciplined day at a time. So don't wait for motivation, build discipline. Don't wait for excitement, build consistency. Don't wait for inspiration, build habits. And soon enough, your life will start to reflect the decisions you made, not the emotions you felt. Number 8. Educate yourself every day, even for 30 minutes. There's a simple habit that separates people who make progress in life from those who stay stuck. It's not luck. It's not talent. It's education. Daily education. Even just a little bit. Think about it. The world is changing faster than ever. New ideas, new methods, new technology, new ways of thinking show up every day. If you're not learning, you're falling behind. It's that simple. Now, I'm not talking about going back to school or spending hours buried in textbooks. I'm talking about a commitment, a small, manageable commitment to learn something valuable every single day, even just 30 minutes. That's it. Half an hour, not much, but it's powerful. You can read a chapter of a book, you can listen to a podcast while driving, you can watch an educational video, you can review notes from a course you're taking. It doesn't have to be overwhelming or complicated, just consistent. Why 30 minutes? Because it's enough time to make real progress without burning you out. It fits into a busy schedule, it builds a habit, and over time those minutes add up. Here's the important part. Education is not about collecting facts or showing off knowledge. It's about growth. It's about expanding your thinking. It's about becoming a better decision maker, a stronger problem solver, a more confident person. Every day you educate yourself, you're investing in your future. That investment pays off in ways you might not see immediately. Maybe it's better communication at work. Maybe it's smarter financial decisions. Maybe it's a new skill that opens a door. The people who have achieved success and freedom didn't get there by accident. They made learning a priority. They made education a lifestyle. Now, I know some people think education has to be formal. It doesn't. Learning happens everywhere, in conversations, in experiences, in reading, listening, observing. What matters most is the commitment, the intention, the discipline. Even if your life is busy, even if you're tired, even if it feels like you don't have time, carve out those 30 minutes. Protect them like they're an appointment with your future self, because they are. Here's a truth that often surprises people. The more you learn, the more confident you become. The more confident you are, the better your choices. The better your choices, the better your results. Education builds confidence. Confidence builds success. Think about it like this. When you educate yourself daily, you're stacking bricks. Each brick may seem small, but over time, you build a strong foundation. That foundation supports everything: your career, your relationships, your mindset. It's not just about money or business either. Educating yourself can improve your health, your attitude, your ability to handle stress. Life will throw challenges your way. Education helps you meet those challenges with tools and insight, not panic and guesswork. And it's never too late. You don't have to be young or in school to learn. In fact, the best learners are often the ones who never stop. Some of the greatest minds of all time kept learning until the day they died. That's what separates the average from the exceptional. But it's not just the big ideas that matter. Sometimes it's small improvements. Reading about a better way to manage your time, learning a simple habit to improve focus, discovering a method to improve your communication. All those small improvements add up. They don't happen if you don't make education a daily habit. So, where do you start? Pick something meaningful to you, something relevant to your goals or challenges. It could be personal growth, finances, relationships, health, business. Then set a simple daily goal, 30 minutes, no distractions, just focused learning. Over weeks, months, years, you'll be amazed at how far those minutes take you. Some days will be harder than others. You might feel tired or distracted. That's normal, but showing up anyway is what makes the difference. You'll build momentum, you'll gain clarity, you'll develop wisdom, and the best part? You'll inspire others around you to do the same. Imagine a life where every day you grow a little more, you become a little wiser, you build a reservoir of knowledge and strength that no one can take away. That's the power of daily education. You don't have to make huge leaps. You just have to keep moving forward. If you can commit to learning for 30 minutes a day, you're investing in a life that's richer, stronger, and more fulfilling. And that investment? It's one of the most reliable paths to lasting success. So don't wait for the perfect moment. Don't wait for more time. Start now. Start small. Start steady. Make education your daily habit and watch how your life changes one day at a time. Number 9. Stop living by your feelings. Live by your priorities. One of the biggest obstacles people face when trying to improve their lives is the habit of letting their feelings make the decisions. You feel tired, so you skip your workout. You feel overwhelmed, so you procrastinate. You feel frustrated, so you lash out or give up. You feel discouraged, so you put your goals on hold. But here's the problem: feelings change. They come and go like waves in the ocean. Sometimes they're calm, sometimes they're stormy. They aren't reliable guides for what to do. If you live by your feelings, you're at their mercy. And feelings don't have your best interest in mind. They're often short-sighted. They want comfort now, even if it hurts you later. But life demands something different. It demands consistency. It demands focus. It demands you act with purpose, not just when you feel like it. That's why you must learn to live by your priorities, not your feelings. Priorities are what matter most to you: your values, your goals, your vision for the future. When you live by your priorities, you make choices based on what will move you forward in the long run, not just what feels good in the moment. That's the difference between those who succeed and those who don't. I've met plenty of people who want better lives. They want more success, more health, more happiness. But they wait for the right feeling to start, the right mood, the right motivation, and when that feeling doesn't come, they stay stuck. You can't wait for feelings to catch up with your goals. You have to take the lead. Your priorities are the compass. Your feelings are the weather. You don't stop navigating because the weather is rough. That means showing up even when you don't feel like it. That means working toward your goals when you're tired or distracted. That means saying no to short-term pleasure when it conflicts with long-term success. It's not easy. Feelings are strong. They want you to give in, but discipline is stronger. Think about your priorities right now. What matters most? Your health, your family, your career, your growth, your integrity. When those priorities are clear, they become anchors that hold you steady when feelings try to pull you off course. I remember early in my career, I didn't always feel like studying or working hard. I got tired, discouraged, and distracted just like anyone, but I had a priority to improve my life and the lives of those I cared about. That priority pushed me to do things I didn't feel like doing, and over time, those small acts of consistency made a big difference. Living by priorities means planning your day around what matters. It means protecting your time and energy for what moves you closer to your goals. It means sometimes making tough choices, saying no to distractions, saying no to comfort, saying no to people or things that don't align with your vision. And yes, sometimes living by your priorities means feeling uncomfortable. It means pushing past doubt, fear, or boredom. But here's the good news. Feelings don't last forever. They pass, but the results you build by living with purpose last. If you always let feelings decide, you'll always be chasing motivation that never stays. If you live by priorities, you build momentum that keeps going, even when feelings fail. One way to make this work is to clarify your priorities daily. Write them down, review them in the morning, use them as a filter for every decision. Ask yourself, does this align with what matters most? Will this move me closer to my goals? Am I honoring my values with this choice? If the answer is yes, then do it, even if you don't feel like it. If the answer is no, then don't do it, even if you want to. Living by priorities is living intentionally. It's living with respect for yourself and your future. It's not about being perfect. It's about being consistent. When feelings and priorities clash, priorities win. That's the discipline that changes lives. That's how winners think. That's how you become someone others can count on. Stop giving your feelings the steering wheel. Take control with your priorities and watch how your life changes, step by step, day by day. Number 10. Decide who you want to be. Then live like that person. One of the most powerful choices you can make in life is deciding who you want to be. Not just what you want to do, not just what you want to have, but who you want to become. Because your identity shapes your actions, and your actions shape your results. When you decide clearly who you want to be, everything else starts to fall into place. Your habits change, your mindset changes, your priorities change, your relationships change. It's like setting a destination on a map. Once you know where you're going, you can chart the right path. Too many people float through life, reacting to circumstances, trying to be whoever others want them to be, or just drifting with no clear sense of self, but that leads to frustration, confusion, and a life that feels out of control. The first step in changing your life is to decide who you want to be. Think deeply about this. What kind of person do you respect? What kind of person inspires you? What kind of person do you want to be when you look back on your life? Maybe it's someone who's disciplined, someone who's kind, someone who's successful in business, someone who's a great parent, someone who stands up for what's right. Whatever it is, get clear about it. Write it down if you have to. Be specific. Then here's the key. Live like that person every day. Act as if you are already that person. Make decisions based on who that person would be, not who you have been. When faced with a choice, ask yourself, what would that person do? If the person you want to be is organized, then get organized today. If they are patient, then practice patience now. If they are healthy, then make healthy choices now. You don't have to wait until you feel ready or perfect. You become that person by doing what that person would do, step by step, day by day. This is how habits form. This is how identity shifts. If you want to be a leader, start leading in small ways. If you want to be a great communicator, start practicing clear and respectful communication today. You can't separate who you are from what you do, so don't wait to be great. Be great in what you do right now. Because your life is a collection of actions repeated over time. If you consistently act like the person you want to be, that's who you will become. If you don't decide who you want to be, then you leave it up to chance, and chance rarely leads to the life you want. So take control, make a decision, decide your identity, then live it. Show up every day as that person. Over time, you'll notice changes in your confidence, your mindset, your opportunities, and other people will notice too. Because people are attracted to those who are clear about who they are. They trust them, they respect them, they want to be around them, and that opens doors. It creates possibilities. It builds a life you're proud of. This isn't about pretending, it's about becoming. The actions you take today are building the person you will be tomorrow. The more deliberate you are with your actions, the more deliberate your life becomes. Decide who you want to be, then live like that person. Everything else will follow.